Yes, now everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Predicts here on the Dom's Ball Chat YouTube channel. Last week, I didn't get that many points. I only got 3, only pushed my total up to 52. Last week, Brock scored 4 points for the guest with that correct result between Wellington and Western United. Really the only difference maker between us last week. So the guests move up to 56. I'm still trailing behind, 4 points behind. Now, let's get into meeting today's guest. So, Josh, co-host of Learning A-Leagues, how have you found the season so far?
Honestly, pretty entertaining. I saw something this morning on most goals in a season across like all the big leagues this season. So yeah, a lot of goals, which is good.
First game of the weekend is Western United taking on the Newcastle Jets. Two teams that have been really inconsistent this season. Obviously, Western United sitting bottom of the table at the moment. Newcastle Jets, they've looked exciting in weeks, but their second half performances have let them down at times. For this game, I'm going to go for a draw. I think Western United at Amy Park, they haven't been too bad this season. Newcastle Jets, I just can't, I don't know, for some reason I can't see them winning this game. I think it's going to be entertaining. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in this one. First game, Western United taking on your Newcastle Jets at Amy Stadium. Are you getting along to this one? And if so, where are you going to be sitting in this one?
So yeah, worked out in the end that I will be at the game. Got work off or started earlier, so yeah, be sitting in the away end with the Newcastle fans, which will be really good. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Too easy. And how are you feeling as a Jets fan going into this game?
Honestly, this game looks pretty good, to be honest. It is matching up for us as the favourites. Western United are sort of got a new ground announcement this week, so I think they're going to have some fire in their belly. So definitely going to be a close game. Fairly confident. I reckon we'll get a win, 3-2.
Triple header on Saturday this week. We got Sydney FC taking on Adelaide United in the first game of the weekend. Sydney, these two teams have played some really entertaining games this season. Obviously, that massive win under Uffy in that first game for Sydney FC, and then Adelaide United beating them in Unite round 4-3. That was an entertaining game in itself. I think it's going to be another cracker, but I think Sydney FC get the win. They've been looking really good in recent weeks. Adelaide have been slipping at times. I'm going to go for a Sydney win. I think it's going to be the opposite of Unite round. I think it's going to be a 4-3 Sydney win. And the first of the 3 Saturday games, we've got Sydney FC taking on Adelaide United. There's been 2 entertaining matches already between these two teams this season. How do you think this one's going to play out?
Well, both teams are looking, one's in form, one's sort of off form at the moment. Both clawing for a top 6 spot, so it'll be a very close matchup. Will we see Will we see Hayden Matthews continue his form? But the last fixture in Unite round, it was very, very close, a 4-3 affair. I do see Sydney, I believe, winning this one, 2-1.
And then we've got the big one on Saturday night. We've got Melbourne City taking on Melbourne Victory in that massive Melbourne derby game. Last time the teams played, it was 0-0. It wasn't very entertaining. I think that's going to change this time around. City, they're going to want to bounce back after that disappointing defeat to Brisbane last week, and Victory losing their first game of the season last week against MacArthur. I think this is just meant for fireworks, this game. It normally has fireworks. Last time was a bit disappointing. This time it's going to have fireworks. Going to go for a City win, actually. I think they're going to cause a bit of an upset here, City. I think they're going to win this one 3-1. And then the second of the Saturday games, it's a Melbourne derby. Last time these two teams played, it was a 0-0 draw. Not a very entertaining game, but can you see that changing in this one?
To be honest, yeah, I think it could be another boring game for the derby. If not, it could be some fireworks as well. Based off last week, obviously embarrassing loss for City against Brisbane, but they could probably bounce back. In my opinion, they will. So I almost can see a draw, but just Bruno back in the side for Victory. I think they're just going to be too good. So I see Victory getting a 2-1 win.
And then we got the late kickoff on Saturday night. Perth Glory taking on Brisbane Roar over in Perth. Perth, they've looked really good in recent weeks, getting that 3-3 draw last week against Adelaide. They would be disappointed not to get the win. But Brisbane, wow, what can you even say about last week's performance? 5-1 against Melbourne City. That was just absolutely dominance from Brisbane. And Ruben Zadkovic going back over to Perth. I think he's going to want revenge in this one. I think Brisbane get the win. I think it's going to be a scrappy 2-1 win for Brisbane in this one. And then the last of the Saturday games, Perth Glory taking on Brisbane Roar. Two teams that have found a bit of form in recent weeks. Perth with that crazy game against Adelaide last week. You thought they were going to get the win, ended up being a draw, but they've had some really good results lately. And
Mm,
Brisbane with that, like you said, emphatic win over Melbourne
mm.
City. Do you see maybe Brisbane going over to Perth and stealing a few points?
Personally, I don't think so. Perth have been, I'd say, one of the most entertaining teams in the league right now. But matching both of these sides against each other, Raw Salona throwback to last week, and then obviously Perth. They're just most entertaining, of course. High goal thriller, I reckon, 3-2 to Perth.
First Sunday kickoff, it's MacArthur taking on Wellington Phoenix in a top of the table clash that no one saw coming at the start of the season. MacArthur obviously giving Melbourne Victory their first loss last weekend with that 1-0 win and that Jake Holman goal. Great finish. But Wellington, how good have they looked, especially with Alex Rufer and Tim Payne back now? I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I'm going to go for a 2-all draw in this one. And then the first of the Sunday games, it's an entertaining one. We've got MacArthur taking on Wellington, a game that's already been played this season, and Wellington won that one earlier in the season. Do you think MacArthur will get their revenge? They've been in a bit of form lately.
Yeah. So MacArthur, Wellington, two forces to be reckoned with in this fixture. First versus third, which I don't think we would ever say that at the start of the season. For these two teams, which is kind of crazy. MacArthur beating Victory, of course, last week for their first loss with no doubler. So I think that was quite a key point after that game. Could they do this against Wellington? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a draw for me. Wellington just going to back up their good defensive performances. I'm going a 1-all draw.
And then the final technical game for this round, it's Mariners taking on Western Sydney Wanderers down at Gosford. It's going to be a cracking match. Wanderers coming off of that 3-all draw last week against the Jets. What a crazy game that was. Had a 2-1 lead at halftime. We're down 3-2, and then last minute equaliser by Marcelo. And then Mariners losing their first game since round 4. They're going to want to come back. I think they're going to come back. Wanderers away form's never good. We know that. Mark Rudan's off for 2 weeks with suspension. I'm going to go for a Mariners win, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. And then the second Sunday kickoff, they're on the same time, so it's not really a one's later than the other. It's the Mariners taking on Western Sydney at Gosford. Wanderers, they've had a real struggle in the last few weeks. 4 red cards in 3 weeks. Mariners getting their first loss since round 4 last weekend. It's poised for a cracking matchup.
Yeah, definitely. Will there be another red card in the game as well? I wonder if there will be, and will Redan go off his face again? But definitely the Mariners are looking, I would say, the favourites. Just Edmondson, 30-minute hat trick on Tuesday, midweek game against Phnom Penh, and obviously Torres going for a Johnny Warren, which is looking like favourite to be as well. So I think I've got Mariners low on stock, I would say, for the Wanderers. So Mariners 3-1.
And then the final game of this week, it's a, would you call it a budget Melbourne derby? It's Melbourne Victory taking on Western United. Two teams that got 2 games this week. Melbourne Victory, they're coming off the back of a Melbourne derby. So is that fatigue going to play into Western United's hands a bit here? I think so. I think Western United can pull off a draw here. Is that Amy? Like I said earlier, they're not too bad at Amy. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I'm going to go for a 1-all draw. And then we've got a treat this week. We've got 7 games this week. We've got, I guess, another Melbourne derby, you would call it. Victory versus Western United. Both teams are both playing in both their games in Melbourne this week, so there's no travel concerns. You'd imagine Victory would come out on top, right?
Definitely. I think Victory should be too good for Western. Depending on the result, I would say for the Western Newcastle game, if they did win, they could continue probably after that performance, but we'll see. But yeah, the alternate Melbourne derby, I've got Victory winning 3-0.
Too easy. Thanks for joining us this week, Josh. Learning A-Leagues is where people that can find you.
Yes, Learning A-Leagues. Hopefully, we're closing in on myself getting a place. So hopefully, once I get my place, I can sort of start up my own sort of channel series or whatever. And bring some content out. So hopefully, stay tuned for that in the next couple of months. But yeah, if not, Learning A-Leagues.
So there you have it. There are my predictions for week 17 of the A-League season. Who? It's week 17. It's going past way too quick. Slow down, A-League. I like you too much. Please don't go away. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out Learning A-Leagues, where we'll keep you up to date on all of Josh's future endeavors. Make sure you like and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you soon.